Well, he's been voted the top doctor in San Diego County for 4 times total in 3 out of the last 4 years. Now he's running for Congress, running as a Republican for the seat in the 52nd Congressional District here in San Diego. Dr. James Veltmeyer, thank you for being here. First of all, why, I want to hear about your story, but why politics? Because Dr. Ben Carson, President Donald Trump, they were asked that question. Why are you jumping into politics?
Well, for me, it's very easy. We have a ailing country, in particular with healthcare, and I believe that if anyone's going to come up with any sensible policies that's impactful, practical, and feasible, it has to come from a doctor. Someone that understands it's in the trenches of healthcare. Otherwise, you can spend and you can get this so-called expert in healthcare, and no one's going to come up with a sound policy of healthcare. Because healthcare is not about health insurance, providing health insurance cards, right? Healthcare is about saving lives, healing the sick. It's about lives. And it's not a political game. It's not a nonpartisan issue. It's not a partisan issue, right?
Right. So as a top medical doctor here again in this part of the country, it begins there with you. And of course, we will touch on many other subjects as we hope to have you back plenty. But I want to tell me a little bit about your childhood in Ecuador, because this is quite a story, and not to be so cliche, but the American dream here really comes into play. If you were to unseat Scott Peters, the Democrat, this would be the American dream.
Absolutely. Well, I'm an immigrant who's living the American promise. There's a lot of politicians that talk about American dream, but I'm living the American dream. At the age 9, I was homeless and desperately poor in South America. I was living on the streets in Guayaquil with my 2 brothers, my sister, and my mom. My father had abandoned us when I was about a year old, and we fell upon very hard times. And I can tell you that there will be days, I can tell you so many stories where we will go without eating, without food. And let me share this one particular story. I happened to be around 7 years old at this particular time, and it had been a couple of days that none of us had anything to eat. I was picked to walk a couple blocks away from where we were living in an apartment to ask for 5 pieces of bread. So I made that walk. I remember standing in line at this bread store, in South America they call it kiosco, bread, and I happened to peek and to look at that, the gentleman who's selling the bread, and he happens to look right at me at the same time and just give me this disdain look. I was like, oh, here he is again. But I mustered the courage to stay, on the line because, I knew that I needed to come back with food. I got in front of the line. I asked him, because my mom had asked me, to come here to ask you for 5 pieces of bread and she'll pay you later. I don't really remember what he said. He shoved it back to me, but I was so elated I ran home. And my mom was waiting with my 3 other siblings. We had our cups of coffee and a little stick of butter. And my sister happened to open the bag. And she points at me and goes, "Look, James ate his bread." Right?
Right.
It took me a few seconds to answer because I had nothing to eat. I did not eat the bread, and I knew if I say yes, that means that maybe a couple more days I would not go to eat it. But I did say yes.
Yes.
And at that time, when I was 7 years old, I felt that I was the strongest of all, and I could,
Well, and then it began there, life or death. I mean, this was
life and death. My mom made the heartbreaking decision to send me to live with my aunt here in the United States. And I have called San Diego and America home ever since.
Well, let's talk about that, because what would you say to the potential thousands of people who might be coming here illegally into your district if you were to win this race, into the 52nd District in San Diego? What would you say to them about your process as compared to what we would see, what they were doing and what we're seeing across the country, because you did it differently?
And let me just add this too, that my mom came here 8 years after. So my mom's legal process was 10 years. My process, my aunt worked for 2 years, 6 rejection. I'm at 7th try. I was able to come here legally with a student visa. Now, this is what I know, that if you're an illegal immigrant, and trust me, I have talked to thousands of them, in the last, decades. And this is what I shared with them. And they all understand that if they come here illegally, they will never ever will be able to realize the American dream, what I did. Help myself so I can help my family. And I'll tell you that all illegal immigrants would rather have, a permit, the right to come here and work if there is employment for them, right? Than come here illegally and always hiding in the shadow.
Right. Well, you ran last year for District 53, and what's different about this year as compared to your campaign last year? What have you learned? What's different? We do have someone else in the White House.
We do. Well, last year, I had a different purpose running for Congress, and I ran for Congress in a different district outside where I live, and mainly because I wanted to get involved in having a larger impact in our community, and there's no other states like it. I'm a legal immigrant who came from poverty to becoming the chairman of the Family Medicine Department at Grossman Hospital, and being a top doctor in San Diego County. This is what I like to share with with whether you're homeless, whether you're a struggling family, whether you're successful, right? No one's going to spoon feed your success. When someone promises you, free education, free income, free beer, stay home, we'll take care of you. It just sounds too good to be true, and it is, right?
Right.
You got to do it. You got to have your own determination, right? Your own sweat. Education is everything.
Well, let's touch on healthcare because we've got a couple of minutes here. The Graham Cassidy bill, no vote today, or this week rather. It seems to be the second failed repeal of Obamacare just in the last couple of months. You've got your own thoughts as a medical doctor on what should be. Well, first of all, have these latest repeals touched on some of your ideas? What's going wrong here?
Well, I can tell you it's everything, right? Nothing's going to pass through Congress or through the Senate unless, right, unless they come up with a policy that we're supporting subsidies for insurance company profit, because everyone's been bought and paid for by the healthcare swamp, right? And it goes back to who are these people that's making coming up with these healthcare policies? Trust me, there's no doctors involved essentially.
Right.
I mean, we do have a couple.
The HHS, yes.
But ultimately, healthcare does not belong to the business market, right? Healthcare, it belongs to the American people and to your doctor. They're the one who's supposed to be in control of your healthcare and healthcare costs. And anytime you have a bill that forces mandated taxes, right, and it's subsidized healthcare, and where everyone else is making life and death medical decisions, as except the doctors, you have a very ill plan.
Well, let me tell you, the NRCC, the National Republican Congressional Committee, wants to see 4 Democrats be unseated. Scott Peters here in the 52nd District is one of them, and you are running against him.
Yeah.
And we want to hear more from you. Of course, we want to have you back. We just wanted to introduce you to Dr. Veltmeyer today and talk a little healthcare, but there's much more to talk about, as you know, so we appreciate it, and we'll look forward to having you back.
Likewise.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Veltmeyer.